Nintendo isn't a company that is known for its storytelling. Their focus is on gameplay, and it shows in the games with Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda. However, Nintendo isn't a stranger to adding more story elements into their franchises with Fire Emblem, Xenoblade, and the aforementioned Zelda. However, Metroid falls more into the gameplay first category of games. This is not to say that Metroid is without a story, far from it. There are established arcs that take place within the games and some stories that go beyond. The Metroid Prime series excelled in this department, adding more to the Metroid universe than anything that had come before it. For quite some time, the Metroid games had a set order, and this is still the case today. However, many have started to call into question the legitimacy of whether or not certain games belong in the established timeline. By that, I mean some have started to not believe the established timeline for one reason or another. But before we go any further, what is the official timeline of the Metroid series? While most of you probably know this already, it won't hurt to go over it for clarity. First is, of course, Metroid Zero Mission, the game that's a remake of the one that started it all. After that we come to the entire Metroid Prime series, which occur in this order: Metroid Prime Hunters, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, Metroid Prime Federation Force, and likely Metroid Prime 4. Next we come to Samus Returns, followed by Super Metroid, Metroid Other M, and finally Metroid Fusion. It still surprises me that we haven't had a game set after Fusion. This timeline seems like it works at first glance, considering it's the one that Nintendo backs. However, inconsistencies start coming up in the games, and some are pretty obvious. I'll be going over a number of these, while also debunking others. An inconsistency that people point to is to do with Samus's upgrades. While not an issue, as some games give a logical and well thought out reason as to why Samus loses her upgrades, some of them can be a bit more questionable. An example of this would be Metroid Prime Hunters and Samus Returns. At the end of Metroid Prime, Samus is near full power, possessing the gravity suit, plasma beam, power bomb, all of that. But in Hunters, she has none of that except her missiles, morph ball, bombs, and her Varia suit. This could be explained by Samus getting a different version of her suit, since it does look almost entirely different in comparison to Metroid Prime, though it's not confirmed. Echoes is not so lucky. The game takes place pretty close to Hunters, so why does Samus not have any of the upgrades that she collected during the events of that game? There is nothing to suggest why for reasons other than gameplay. There are quite a few things pointed out about Samus Returns. Similarly to Hunters, Samus should possess the upgrades that she collected during Corruption. However, it appears that Samus does go through a full reset with her suit at the end. This is thanks to the appearance of the Varia suit. Super Metroid doesn't fare so well, as Samus Returns shows Samus at full power. Super Metroid takes place almost immediately after Samus Returns, so why Samus doesn't have anything is a bit of a mystery. However, it can be speculated that Samus did a complete reset as she did in Corruption. Another point that is commonly argued against is Ridley's appearance in Samus Returns, though with a little bit of speculation this can be defended. Someone suggested that it feels like Ridley somehow knew that Samus was on SR-388 wiping out the Metroids, and he could very well have known. We should get an answer in Prime 4, or a Metroid Prime 6 if we were able to get a new Prime trilogy, but it could be that once Ridley is revived as Proteus Ridley, he's informed about Samus's mission on SR-388, and so he goes alone to the planet since it will be faster than bringing an army. A minor thing that people like to think is an inconsistency when it really isn't is something to do with Metroid Prime. If you recall, there is a room in Metroid Prime where you activate a map of the local solar system. This solar system includes Talon 4, Billium, Twin Tabula, Allmine 2, as well as Zebus. Some point to the fact that the planet of SR-388 is not present in this hologram, it creates an inconsistency. This is not the case, as SR-388 is located in a completely different solar system. While being close, it's not in the same system. And now for the biggest inconsistency when it comes to the Metroid timeline. This one is so big that it calls the entire canon into question. This is, of course, Metroid Other M as a whole. I'll break down exactly how Other M contradicts almost the entire Metroid universe, but because that list is so extensive, I'll do it in another video. To give a brief description though, Other M contradicts the entire Metroid Prime series while also making fusion completely impossible to occur. As I said, I'll go over this in detail in another video. With all this being said, are there any changes that need to be made to the timeline to be better in consistency and continuity? Putting aside how I personally feel towards these games, the only change that needs to actually happen is to remove Other M from the timeline. There are too many canon-breaking inconsistencies strewn all over the place, and regardless of whether you like the game or not, these flaws exist and they cannot be ignored, particularly because they are fairly obvious. Now, with Other M's removal, some may have points against certain things that occur in Fusion. How did Ridley get here? Why is Samus so connected to Adam, and how did he die? These questions can be answered really easily. In Metroid Fusion, the whole reason for Samus being able to live past her X infection is thanks to a cell structure of the Metroid that the Federation possess. How did they get this? By collecting DNA off of Samus after her mission on Zebus. This is also shown in Other M. Who's to say that it wouldn't happen here too? So what about Ridley? Exactly the same thing as the Metroids. The Federation collected Ridley's DNA from Samus' suit to make their own clone of Ridley. They froze it so that it wouldn't escape, and to possibly create a bioweapon out of the clone. So what about Adam? First of all, his first introduction to the series was in Fusion, and it is implied that he died a while ago. Why not create a game set before Zero Mission and show Samus during her time with the Federation while Adam is alive? Then, during this game, he dies by sacrificing himself to save a planet from a space pirate invasion force. This could be why Samus leaves the Federation in the first place. Just leave out the whole father figure thing. Don't forget about Old Bird. Anyway, it's during this that we could learn more about Adam and why we should care for him. Second of all, he's in the Metroid manga, and he seemed like a pretty cool dude, so there we are. As a result of all of that, the Metroid timeline should look like this. This makes the whole timeline flow smoothly with no questions. People like to propose that the Metroid Prime series is in a separate timeline. This is due to the drastic change in gameplay and how the story is told. Though this isn't a valid reason to put the Prime series in a separate timeline. It doesn't contradict the main series of Metroid. If anything, Samus Returns reinforces the Prime series thanks to Proteus Ridley's appearance and his connection to Meta Ridley. What also helps validate the Metroid Prime series is the fact that we're getting more Metroid Prime stuff, with Metroid Prime 4, Federation Force, and potentially more. It also doesn't make sense to implement multiple timelines into something where it can easily work as one. That just seems very unnecessary. And with that, this video is done. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. The next one will go over why Other M just doesn't fit in the Metroid story and why it shouldn't be looked at as canon. I know people like this game, but these flaws just cannot be ignored. The making of that video should also go along smoothly with no interruptions, unlike this video. I'm that Metroid guy, and I'll see you in the next mission. Bye bye.